Good morning, everyone. Today is the 31st of August, 2024, Saturday morning. We started reading through the book of Exodus, and this is an interesting book because this is the second chapter we're getting ready to go into. And this is the account of the birth of Moses. Birth of Moses, the one who authored the first 5 books of the Bible, the Pentateuch, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Moses was a writer. A lot of people forget about that. Moses authored 5 books. I've written 5 books. I'm not Moses, but I can relate to Moses because he was a writer. You know? Have you ever thought about the fact that Moses wrote the book of the origin of the world? That was authored by Moses, the book of Genesis. The book of Exodus, of the bondage of Israel and their being freed out of Egypt. Moses wrote about it. He also wrote a very boring book, the book of Leviticus, all of the begets. Have you ever tried to read through chapter by chapter through the book of Leviticus? It's pretty laborious. Deuteronomy, showing the sovereignty of God. Numbers, book of Numbers, again, the numbering of the kings. Anyway, now, Moses' father was of the house of Levi, and he took a wife from the daughter of Levi, and of course she conceived and bore a son. And because the Pharaoh was trying to kill all the men children, she took him and put him in the bulrushes in a little ark in the river. And his sister was watching him from afar off, and the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, speaking about events in our lives, providence of God. And notice how God directed his sister to go to Pharaoh's daughter and say, "Shall I go for thee to fetch a nurse for this child?" Because this daughter of Pharaoh had found this little child in this little ark. And so the daughter of Pharaoh told Moses' sister to go get the child, and she called the child's mother. Can you imagine Moses being brought up as in the house of Pharaoh and those events that happened as a result of that? And he grew up in that household with all the royalty in the house of Pharaoh. And we see how that Moses ended up going to defense over one of his brethren, and how it caused some problems. And anyway, Moses had to leave because he was afraid he was going to get found out. And Moses ended up marrying Zipporah, his wife. And we're going to see in the next chapter that God's going to cause Moses to be an instrument to deliver the Egyptians the Israelites out of the hands of the Egyptians' bondage. So I'll turn this over to Mark and have him read this to you. And, you know, it's quite a account. Moses was one of the central figures throughout the Bible. In fact, if you talk to most Jews today, their central patriarch is Moses. What does it say in the book of Hebrews? there's one greater than Moses here. I remember Steve Slissel, a Jew, who was brought up in Orthodox Judaism. He read that book, Hebrews. He read that in the Hebrews where it says there's one greater than Moses here and how it had an impact on him. Anyway, I'll let Mark read the 2nd chapter of Exodus.
Exodus chapter 2, and there went a man in the house of Levi, and took to wife a daughter of Levi. The woman conceived and bare a son, and when she saw him, that he was a godly child, she hid him 3 months. When she could no longer hide him, she took for him ark of bulrush and dyed with slime with pitch, and put the child therein. She laid it in the flags by the river's brink, and his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. The daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the river's side. When she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. She had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept, and she had compassion on him, and said, This is one of the Hebrews' children. Then said his sister, Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call to thee and nurse the Hebrew woman, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. The woman took the child and nursed it, and the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and became her son, and she called his name Moses. She said, Because I drew him out of the water. It came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brothers, and looked on their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian, spied a Hebrew, one of his brethren. He looked this way and that way. When he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian, hid in the sand. When he went out the 2nd day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said to him that did the wrong, Whereof smitest thou thy fellow? And he said, Who made thee a prince and judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killest the Egyptian? Moses feared and said, Surely this thing is known. Now when Moses heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. He sat down by a well. The priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. And when they came to rule their father, he said, How is it that you're come so soon today? And they said, An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us to water the flock. Said unto his daughters, Where is he? And why is it that ye have left a man? Call him, that he may eat bread. Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moses Zipporah his daughter. She bare him a son, and he called his name Gershom, for he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land, stranger in the land of living. It came to pass in process of due time. The king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage of the suffering, and they cried, and the cry came up before God. Reason of their tribulation, and God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them.
Well, that's quite an account of the birth and the growing up of Moses in the house of Pharaoh. You all have a good day today.